Here's 3 teacups and saucers. This one here is the one I want to concentrate on. This is pre-1750 teacup and saucer. These are early 20th century teacups and saucers. All hand painted, all hand thrown, bone china. Very beautiful, from Japan. I got it in an antique shop for $1 each. They're very beautiful. But notice the difference between a 1750 or 40s teacup from China, and then these representing modern teacups, because this is what you would get today if you had tea. This teacup here has no handle. See how that has a handle? This teacup is Chinese, and you notice when you go to a Chinese restaurant, what they give you is a teacup like this. No handle. They do not give you a saucer, because in China, even today, they don't use saucers. Now, the reason why the saucer came into being is because the English, who started drinking tea in the 1600s, didn't want to mar their furniture, because you drink tea has to be infused in water, and the water has to be boiling. So they didn't want to put this teacup on nice wood furniture, so they did the saucer. And you see the difference in the saucers of modern day. That's more like a bowl, because that is a bowl. Because the English with these, they use pickle bowls or sauce bowls, and thus the term saucer came about. Because in early 1700s, many times they drank tea from the saucer. You can see the width, or the height. They would literally drink tea from the saucer, and the reason why they did that is because when they poured tea into these were called tea bowls, by the way, not tea cups. The tea was hot. It was so hot they would pour a little in the bowl and drink from the bowl. And when you look at this piece here, you'll notice, if I can get the just trying to get, you'll notice the top decoration there, and as I turn it, see how light it gets there? Kind of hard to do with auto focusing. It doesn't know what to focus on, but it's a lot lighter on this side here. Maybe I'll do it better this way. See how it... That's because the person that used this is where they put their thumb. They would put their thumb here and lift the bowl up. Notice the decoration in the middle, this part here. That is that. But it's worn away because you put your cup like that. So they used to drink it, believe it or not. And you can look at paintings of the 18th century, and they would raise the bowl and drink from the saucer. Isn't that funny? And it helped cool the tea. But after 1750, that became kind of frowned upon, because tea was considered a kind of culture. You had arrived. It was usually upper middle class and wealthy that drank tea. Now, of course, they don't have handles like this. Later in the 18th century, they got handles because, like I said, tea was hot. Now, collecting Chinese porcelain is very risky because there's a lot of fakes. But teacups or tea bowls and saucers are not faked as much. They still make them today, but they're not faked as much because you can buy this set right here for under $100. So why are you going to take the risk and the time for a very little profit? Now, how do you know these are old? Well, it has a bluish cast to the clay. It's not totally white. And one of the biggest things is rust. Yes, rust. See that in the bowl? The clay was imperfect when it was thrown. And that rust that comes out takes hundreds of years to come to the surface. So this rust here is iron that has come to the surface and began to rust. And it takes hundreds of years for that to happen. Now, when this was new, it was perfect, and they used it. But all antique porcelain has some type of rust. There's the wear on the bottom. That's called a foot. There's the hand-painted decoration. And then on this piece here, the bottom, as I said, that middle section has worn because that's what you put the cup on, and you can see little rust spots. Generally, they're small like that. But on this piece, on the back, I can flip it over with one hand without breaking it. You'll see here, that's not rust. Try it up here. This here is sand. These are specks of sand from when this was put in the kiln and it laid on sand, and the glaze, which is porcelain or glass, when it melted to become glass, it took captured some of the grains of sand that it was laying on and infused it into the pottery. And some of it's come off. You probably can't see it, and you can see the white, bluish white of the clay. And that's just sand. And that's another example of how you can find an old piece. Notice around the rim, it's very red. That's very typical of old pieces. And again, another rust spot here. And that's what you look for. And you can see the top decoration as I go around. See how it's lighter there? Because this person grabbed it from this end here because they wanted this decoration, this little piece of fruit, to face them. Because that was important back then. Everything was done, regimented to have a tea. Everybody dressed up in their best clothing, and they had tea. It was very, very genteel, very, very civil back in the day. So some of these you can get in fairly pristine condition, because like today when you have dinner, you go to the cupboard, you grab dishes that are in front of the cupboard, and when you put them back, you put them in the front of the cupboard. So those dishes get used more. The back dishes could not be used even for years. And it was the same with these pieces. So you can get some 18th, even 17th century Chinese porcelain there in fairly good shape, but you gotta, as I said earlier, there's a lot of fakes. But tea bowls like that and saucers don't bring a lot of money, so they still make them today. So what you look for is age, and that has plenty of age. And of course the modern counterpart, even though this is late 1800s or early 1900s Japan. When I was a kid, this was the typical teacup that most people drank instant coffee from. And you can see again, see how deep that bowl is to the cup compared to that. Because they drank tea in the early 18th century, both out of the tea bowl and the saucer. The saucer helped cool it. So nice little small, about 1740, 1750, tea bowl and saucer from China, made for the export market, meaning it was designed to be exported to England or its colonies. Thanks for watching.